Hi guys! Did you know that for every 10 to 13 seconds, a couple is getting divorced?
Wouldn't you want to know why your marriage or relationship might not last?
Do you ever wonder why Brad Pitt's relationship with Jennifer Aniston ended with divorce? But Brangelina is still going strong to this day, still being our hashtag relationship goals.
This scientific episode is about the physiological and hormonal changes that occurs when couples undergo stressful situations. Researchers from Ohio State University wanted to investigate how internal physiological changes affect newlyweds' relationship across a 10-year study.
This is important because when people break up or file for divorce, they often blame themselves or blame the other person for their clashing personalities. However, this case study focuses on the biological aspect of how hormonal levels play a primary role in the fate of a relationship when faced with difficult situations.
So, we hypothesized that if hormones affect human behavior in one's relationship, then the intensity level of the stress hormones will determine the fate of their marriage. A hormone is a signaling molecule produced by glands in multicellular organisms that are transported by the circulatory system to target distant organs to regulate our internal physiology and behavior.
So for this study, we have 4 types of hormones that are observed. First, cortisol, which is released due to stress, ACTH, which is released in response to stress, epinephrine, which is released during fight or flight responses, and norepinephrine is released to mobilize the body and brain for action.
So, the intensity level of someone's stress hormones may affect the results of the individual's take on life. So, when two individuals take on stressful situations together, the way how their hormone stress levels either balance or fluctuate may determine their compatibility with each other.
So hopefully this case study can help explain the phenomena behind the high divorce rates in the United States.
Take, for example, Brad Pitt and his famous relationships. So with Jennifer Aniston, when Jennifer's role in Friends ended in 2004, she was left with no more TV or movie productions, which may have led her to be stressed about her future in Hollywood. Meanwhile, her husband had several other projects going on, which may have caused them to have a lot of stress and problems, leading into their divorce around 2005. Oh, and then Angelina Jolie, which led to the rise of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. So the start of Brangelina quickly arose amidst the fallout and pressure between Brad and Jennifer. Through all the years of speculation that Brad and Angelina Jolie were going to get a divorce, both have openly stated that they do suffer from some ups and downs in their relationship. However, when one of them is stressed, the other one does try to keep calm and motivate their partner to move on past their struggles. A memorable moment that was publicized throughout the media was when Angelina Jolie was getting a breast mastectomy. She noted how supportive Brad was for her and how he was her rock. With that being said, it is safe to say that through their darkest times, their stress hormones were able to balance each other out, which helped them and their relationship survive through their tough times.
So we predicted that if hormones play a role in affective behavior, the negative behavior will show an increase in hormonal change in dissatisfied couples. So if couples are able to agree to disagree on different topics given, then the levels of stress hormones should not increase, therefore having no or little effect on negative behaviors expressed during the couple's interaction.
The data report and analysis was performed via quantitative active measurement. The researchers gave the couples specific conflicting topics to discuss amongst themselves regarding a discussion to see how they interact. Individual behavioral differences and endocrine function, which is the release of hormones, were measured and noted down as to how actively the levels of hormones would greatly increase or decrease depending on the scenario that was given to the couples. The study produced data where, 1. The high hostile individuals behaved more negatively during marital conflict and demonstrated greater physiological reactivity.
Also, it was noted that a woman's dissatisfaction had higher levels of hormonal change than those of satisfied women and both satisfied and dissatisfied men. The increasingly high ACTH levels of dissatisfied women further indicated that the weary relationship would lead to more conflict and resulting in divorce.
The third data showed that members of satisfied couples had significantly lower norepinephrine levels. This lower stress hormone levels indicated a stronger lasting relationship that was able to withstand troubling times.
And lastly, cortisol and epinephrine hormones show no significant difference between satisfied and unsatisfied couples.
So how does the data help us to confirm or disconfirm the hypothesis?
The data that we gathered helped us disconfirm our hypothesis within the study case. Out of the 4 stress hormone levels, only 1 hormone showed significant results that supported our hypothesis. The hypothesis is not supported through the charts that were noted amongst the increased or decreased levels of stress hormone levels that were produced during stressful times the couples faced.
Couples that stayed in longer-lasting relationships produced lower stress hormone levels because they were able to find ways to help lower their problems together, thus decreasing their ACTH levels. However, for those couples that did end up with a divorce, did experience hormonal elevation in epinephrine and ACTH hormones, which shows little correlation, but not a conclusive one. So we have 2 aspects of the Quine-Duhem thesis. The tribunal of beliefs is applicable to this study because there are several idealized factors and auxiliary hypotheses that were put to use in this relationship test. So our test hypothesis was higher levels of hormones produced from the couple when dealing difficult situations will lead to the end of a relationship. Our first auxiliary hypothesis is that samples of newlywed couples must start with a low incidence of marital distress which will thus provide an excellent homogeneous sample for examining the factors that led to the maintenance or declines in satisfaction. Essentially, they should not have any other stressors such as kids, money, or jobs. So by beginning the study with low to equal amounts of stress hormones, it can help the researchers monitor gradual fluctuation of hormonal tendencies throughout the years.
Our second auxiliary hypothesis is that couples must have a healthy medical background. They must also take into consideration their parents' medical history should be healthy because that can affect the genetic component of their elevated stress hormones.
Our third auxiliary hypothesis is that couples cannot be depressed. Depressed is shown to alter hormones. Having a healthy medical background where both individuals have not suffered from depression would definitely trigger less stress hormones than those who suffer from outside causes. So with these auxiliary hypotheses, it makes it difficult to confirm and disconfirm the main hypothesis because they all have to be examined as a group and not individually. If a partner were to crack under pressure, it then radiates onto an individual's relationship with their partner, which will result to the end of a couple status. With the added stress coming in from both factors, it will ultimately lead to a bigger and messier breakup between the two's relationship. The exceptions to this hypothesis, and that may break this web of auxiliary hypotheses, is if one of the auxiliary hypotheses doesn't fit. Then we are able to manipulate the outlier so that the main test hypothesis does not become invalid. So in this case, if a couple does not share a common baseline for their hormonal level and the data did not match, we can then blame that auxiliary hypothesis rather than invalidate the whole web of hypotheses.
The next one is underdetermination, which can be applied to this study case because there could be multiple factors that lead to divorce or a long-lasting relationship. So as described in class, the mild sense is that the evidence might not be conclusive as to which reason or hypothesis really did cause a separation of husband and wife, causing the researcher to have to further test the possibility. And in the extreme case, either all the theories given should be shown to be the reason why the husband and wife separated, or on the opposite spectrum, none of the theories can explain for the resulting separation. So some of the theories include finding out that you're no longer attracted to the original sexual orientation if you're in engaged commitment. So for example, if you're male and you marry a female, but then you have this realization that you're no longer into the opposite sex.
The second one is when one of the person in the couple is already stressed out and becomes abusive.
Third is the other partner is just plain evil.
And the last one is that the marriage was arranged.
So then they weren't in love in the first place. So even if we did have more data, we wouldn't be able to confirm or disconfirm the data entirely because there are so many reasons why a couple's relationship might dissipate for the reasons above. So we experience underdetermination because the evidence does not specifically pinpoint which evidence matches a prediction.
So, the overall conclusion of this scientific episode is that while the data show some correlation between hormonal changes and the marital satisfaction and dissatisfaction, the data as a whole is inconclusive to our predictions.
So as far as Brad and Jennifer's breakup, Jennifer's elevated hormonal level may have been correlated to the divorce. In the near future, we'll see if Brad and Angelina's current unstable marriage will last.